taking three.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh no!
Son of a bitch.
You get your two?
Yeah.
User in your channel timed out.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at a replay in the Zao. Yes. Now, this is a real heartbreaker of a game, I gotta say. I was, rocking out, as you can tell from the music here, just having a good time. I was looking at the snow. This was great. I mean, obviously, weather effect here that they added on Shatter. Just think it's awesome. We've already talked about it in a previous video. If the flurries would be everywhere, I think that'd be great. Anyway, taking a look around, tier 10 battle here. So I do have a Yamato on my team, so that's pretty great. The enemy team does have some heavy-hitting battleships as well, but more importantly, there are 4 destroyers on either side, right? And we do have some high-tier destroyers here as well, so right away I know that the destroyers are going to be playing a critical role in this battle, so it's really going to be... it's not going to come down to the destroyers. I don't want to go so far as to say that, but it is going to be really, really important, the outcome of our destroyers, whether or not they decide to push forward and win, or if, they're defending our base and play a good defense. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. Typical Shatter, deployment here, we half the team starts on the east side, half the team starts on the west side. We don't have the 3 cap zones to cap here, so that's not too bad. So we're focused on killing enemy ships and then eventually trying to get to the enemy base. Important to keep in mind, though, we do have some aircraft carriers. Now we have some tier 8 aircraft carriers, right? The Shuikaku and the Lexington. So that is, it's going to become important for us. The fact that the enemy team is a Shuikaku and our Lexington is a Lexington, so yeah, there's that. But anyway, we'll have to make do with what we can. So early stages of the battle here, I'm decided that I'm going to go not necessarily up the east side, but I don't want to go straight up into those middle channels, but I am going to try to get myself into these islands at the very least. So, I do have some destroyers off to the port side as well, so if they do start spotting some enemies, at least I'll have a little bit of cover if the enemies decide to start shooting at me, which they probably will. You're in a tier 10 ship, so, you're a fairly large target, but at least I'll have some sort of cover, hopefully, that I can utilize to maybe work in and out of the islands, maybe close the distance a little, and really get some ships gone. Now, obviously, I'm going to be firing high explosive this entire time. You're in the Zao. It's really, really the thing you want to do, especially considering the amount of ships, the level of ships you're going to be coming against, right? Other tier 10s. It just makes sense to fire some high explosives here. There is time for armor piercing. I'm not going to say, don't fire armor piercing at all. There are definitely times, if there's an enemy cruiser that's close to you and he's giving you a broadside, yeah, your armor piercing is going to do a whole bunch of damage. I would still probably tend to fire my high explosive, though. So we do see an enemy destroyer off in the distance, Shimakaze, I believe, so we are going to start putting some shots into this guy, and I do manage to hit a few shots there on that first salvo, so that wasn't too bad at all. And then we see an Ibuki that pops up as well. I don't want to continue forward to hunt down the Shimakaze, right, because I would have been giving a broadside to the Ibuki. So I need to turn and angle myself against the Ibuki while getting a few more shots off at the Shimakaze. Shimakaze pops out of sight, so I don't want to focus on him too much here. I want to keep in mind that there is the Ibuki there in the background. Even though, I don't spot him anymore, I know he's back there. And then we do see second enemy destroyer. So it's another enemy destroyer that we're going to have to deal with as well. I caught a quick glimpse of him, so I'm going to fire in some shots there. Hopefully, he continues in a straight line on the other side of that island, and I'll be able to take him out. Meantime, my destroyers are doing a pretty good job at taking out this enemy Shimakaze. We can see, the enemy destroyer. We can see here, is that a Kagero? We'd have to count the torpedoes, but anyway, we can see that my enemy destroyers and even my battleship here, we're just not going to take any crap from this guy. No, it definitely is a Shimakaze, yeah. So he's gone. Don't have to worry about him, but we still do have a second enemy destroyer out there as well, so we want to be careful. It's another Shimakaze. We need to take this guy down as well, but once again, look at the minimap. I do have some enemy ships popped up in front of me, right? Even though they're moving in behind the island, we still do have them there, so I need to be aware of them. I don't necessarily want to forget about them, right? We have this Thotgor. The Thotgor was just sitting there, not 100% sure what that player was doing, but given the ship that the player is in, not surprising. So immediately put some shots out into the Thotgor, and those shots are going to do a bit of damage here, if they would have hit, obviously. Damn it. Anyway, the enemy Shimakaze, like I said, is gone. We still have that second one on the west side there, but I wasn't gonna go up there and try and duke it out with that guy. We do have two of my allied destroyers over there to kind of deal with it, so okay. But on the east side, where things kind of aren't looking so great, we only have a few allied ships over there on the east side. It looks like the push, for us is really coming from the west, so that means the west side, where my ship is, we really need to push quickly into the enemy base to force the enemy ships who are on the east side going towards our base, to force them to turn back and come and defend their base, right? So we can take those guys out and hopefully be able to protect our base as well. At least that's the plan. Now this does not always happen. Sometimes, people aren't watching the minimap and they don't necessarily realize what's going to happen when certain things are unfolding here. So yeah, it kind of sucks. People aren't paying attention, but that's all part of the whole learning aspect of the game, I suppose. Different people are at different stages right now anyway. But you do see the enemies have quite a few ships on the east side, right? It basically looks like they're making a beeline for our base. And I noticed this, and I'm trying to figure out, do I want to continue going forward and press into the enemy base, or should I be turning back and trying to defend my base? And so far anyway, I've decided just to continue north, keep pushing north, try to get into the enemy base. I'm fast, I've got some allies here with me, maybe we can do it. Catch a quick glimpse here of some of the enemy ships that are on the way to our base. Again, not an excellent situation. The saving grace over there on, we do have a destroyer on the east side, you see on the minimap. So that is something, right? Because the destroyer can stand off, hopefully not too far, and be able to fire torpedoes at the enemy ships, take a few out, hopefully, but at least disrupt their push a little. Now the battleships that we have over there on the east side, I don't know how effective those guys were, really, or those players rather were, because you're going to see as the battle progresses, they just continue to push south and push south and push south, and it's not that great of a move, I gotta say. Anyway, we're getting closer into the enemy's base. You can see I've got North Carolina here helping me out. We do see some enemy ships, and the ranges here are pretty close, so I really want to watch myself, do as much damage as possible, but again, take as little damage as possible. So shots go out into the Ibuki, but the Ibuki turns and only hit him with a bit, but I do end up setting him on fire. We still do have the enemy Thotgor off in the distance, and those are Thotgor torpedoes that we're dodging right now, I believe. But no big deal, none of them hit me, and you can see that my North Carolina ally as well managed to avoid them. We see torpedoes coming in from the Ibuki. There's a nice salvo on the Ibuki. Got a bit of damage done to him there, so that's not too bad at all. But I really need to turn in and start, contesting the enemy base, or at least start capping the enemy base, because if we look on the south, again, the enemies are just outside my base, and you can see that they've split up, sort of, at least on the mini-map is what it sort of looks like. Some of the enemy ships are circling back, coming up to their base, and you do see that one enemy ship, at least one enemy ship anyway, is continuing to cap our base. Here come some torpedoes from the Shimakaze that we saw earlier that we didn't kill. Remember, there were two and we only killed one, so there's the price we pay for that. It's not going to bother me too much, but it does disrupt our little push here between that myself and this North Carolina are doing, right? Unfortunately, the North Carolina is on fire. The enemy torpedoes run out of their range, so that's pretty good. We didn't have to continue to turn too much, but now I am staring down an enemy ship in front of me here, right? That's pushing through the channel. So it's Des Moines. We are going to try to engage this guy, but I didn't want to give him too much of a broadside, because every time he hits me, obviously he's resetting cap points here. And at this point in time, I thought maybe, because it's essentially a race to see who can cap the base, right? Maybe we can cap it out before the enemy, but no, not with the Des Moines sitting there hitting us like that. I take a big hit from the battleship as well, and you can see, obviously that was a Citadel, so I do have to start repairing, and I'm going to have to disengage here if I want to have any chance of actually surviving. It doesn't seem so bad, because my plan now is to push into our base down south. I'm going to try and go defend our base. That's my plan now. I figure that up here at the enemy base, they've got it. They've got two allied ships and two allied destroyers, so that should be fine. But there we go. We just saw that one of my battleships up there that was capping enemy base just went down. The North Carolina, I believe, just burnt to death, so that kind of sucked. But I'm still thinking that it's okay, because they still do have two allied destroyers up there who are disrupting the enemy ships in the background, giving the chance for my ally to continue to cap that zone. So that was my thought anyway. But now as things sort of progress, right, my battleships down there in the south, they did actually, or someone anyway, managed to take out the enemy ship that was capping our base. Not 100% sure who it was, but anyway, with that gone and them the enemies no longer capping our base, I think to myself, well, now is the time, Thotgor. You gotta go get back into the enemy base. And this was a mistake on my behalf. Because there are still enemy ships on the east side, I just don't see them on the minimap, but they are still there. So it's at this point in time that I should have really just continued on to my base, because there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to accomplish at this time, right? Like one of my enemy allied, or actually both my allied destroyers who are up here in the north, they're gone now. So we no longer have any destroyers. So remember I said at the beginning that the destroyers are going to have, play a crucial role in this battle. They definitely do. It's the enemy destroyers that are playing the crucial role in this battle. Not my destroyers, no, I'm not that lucky, at least not this time. So I'm closing back into the enemy base, turning back into it, but we do see quite a few enemy aircraft in the air, right? We still have some enemy cruisers that we're going to have to deal with here as well, and I can see that, there's an enemy that's going to be, or a few enemies that's going to be coming around this island here, right? We can see them there, and I didn't want to be broadside to them. I didn't want to be in a position where they could just fire right into me, maybe fire torpedoes at me as well, and just end it. So I'm going to try and play this a little sneaky here. So I'm going to continue to fire on the Thotgor because, I see him. But now I've closed the range enough where I am going to be able to fire some torpedoes off this enemy battleship. So torpedoes are away. Hopefully the enemy battleship's going to run right into them. I wanted to stay in the enemy base, so I'm just putting myself into a full reverse here with the intention of just stopping, waiting to see what my torpedoes do to the enemy battleship, and then potentially reversing out and finishing off the enemy battleship or another enemy ship if need be. All the time, right? Just continuing to put shots into the Thotgor back in the off in the distance. I really wanted to get this player gone, or at least the enemy cruiser off in the distance. So there we go. I do manage to hit the enemy Iowa with 3 torpedoes, and that pretty much killed the enemy Iowa. He's on really low health, so I'm throwing it into a reverse, and I'm going to try and finish off this enemy Iowa once I have a good line of sight on him, right? You can see that I do still have an allied battleship behind me, but this is the allied battleship, though, is taking all of the force. All of the shots from the enemy Iowa, which is good for me because I didn't want to take too much damage, but still, if I could have done this a little quicker, maybe I could have saved that allied battleship I had. But anyway, here's the enemy Iowa, so I'm going to start engaging this guy right away, just putting shots into him. We can see an enemy Thotgor pop up, right? Immediately you have to switch targets. I'm not going to let this destroyer be this close to me. I'm in a reverse, for God's sakes, and try to launch torpedoes. So we're going to wait for all my guns to reload, full salvo off, and yeah. That was pretty great. Anyway, now that the Thotgor is gone, don't have to worry about him. We can focus back onto the Iowa, and the Iowa is almost dead, so we're going to try and get more shots into this Iowa just to finish him off, right? Then maybe we can focus on the Baltimore that's coming up. So there we go, Iowa's gone. Excellent. I can start. I was going to try and get some torpedoes off the Baltimore there, but you can see obviously those torpedoes are reloading, so we need to throw my ship into a turn so that I can get engaging with this Baltimore here. Unfortunately, again, I made another mistake. I shouldn't have turned this way. I should have turned the other way. It would have been quicker. I could have grouped up with my allied battleship and really helped out that guy. Might have even saved that guy, who knows. But you do still see the enemy Shimakaze is back here, right? Firing torpedoes into us right now, so I'm lucky in that I did avoid these torpedoes. If I would have turned the other way, I think I would have at least taken a few, but I avoid all of them, so no big deal. I'm turning as hard as I possibly can. We can see the enemy Shimakaze here now. My aircraft carrier is engaging the enemy Shimakaze, so that's great. I'm going to try and get some shots off at the enemy Shimakaze if I possibly can, because again, I do really want to focus on the Baltimore that's coming up, and we need to keep in mind enemy aircraft carrier, right? Their planes are out here all over us right now. So the enemy Baltimore is quickly going to come up into my firing or line of sight here, but unfortunately my allied battleship is gone. So that sucks. But now I have to make a call here, right? I want to kill the enemy Baltimore. The player is really close to me. We're gonna have to torpedo this player here, and it's gonna be just basic, a basic straight torpedo run is what I'm gonna try and do. And I'm gonna use the advantage I have in torpedoes against the Baltimore. Obviously, not only are the Zhao torpedoes, really good in terms of damage done, but they're also pretty fast. They 8-kilometer range on them. So it's not too bad at all. So I'm just sailing straight at the Baltimore, you know, limiting the broadsides that he's going to be able to get at me, because if this player is firing armor piercing, he will be doing a lot of damage to me. There we go, set him on fire and got myself a Confederate. Now I'm turning, you know, we're going to get our torpedoes lined up, so we launch one in case he continues in his verse. Obviously he's going to be trying to go forward, so launch the second spread to hit him in that. I did catch on fire, but I'm able to repair it, and the Baltimore is going to go down. There's no way that player is going to be able to avoid these torpedoes. So there we go, that's a high caliber for myself, and I managed to take out the Baltimore. The Baltimore, though, got me with a nice hit before he went down, and that, I think, is going to be the crucial, or was the crucial moment here as well, in terms of hit point conservation. Anyway, we do still have the bloody Thotgor off in the distance, so I'm going to put more shots into the Thotgor. I'm going to try and cap the enemy base, because the enemies aren't capping my base right now. But there's, you know, it's at this point in time I look up and like, there's only 4 of us left. So it's not going so well. I'm on fire. I'm not going to be able to put this fire out for another 20 seconds. So that is very unfortunate. We have more enemy planes on the way as well, so enemy dive bombers coming in. So I'm going to target these guys, hopefully shoot down as many as I can and rattle their crews so they're not going to be able to actually hit me with anything. Didn't work. They do end up hitting me with some bombs, and that damages me a little more. I've got the Thotgor on fire, and I'm trying to get this guy killed. If I can just get the Thotgor killed, I think. But there are still more enemy aircraft on the way. So there we go. Enemy Thotgor is gone, and I earned myself an arsonist for that as well. But now I'm just getting swarmed by enemy torpedo bombers. There's not a whole lot more that I can do. Things are so intense, though, that I'm still thinking that we have a chance here. I was looking for the torpedoes. They come in, and no, wasn't going to be able to avoid them. I was kind of looking around as well, wasn't really paying attention, and that torpedo came in and just took me out. Now that I'm gone, though, I start looking around, seeing at what are my allies doing while all of this was going on, because that was a pretty intense battle up here. I mean, I did manage to kill most of the enemy ships that were up here anyway. So that was pretty great, but you know, where were my allies? At least I know the allies who were up here with me. They fought pretty good. They definitely did, you know, take part in the action, but what is everyone else doing? So we're looking around. You can see I'm slowly sinking. I managed about 130,000 damage that was registered anyway, so that's not too bad. You can see my enemy aircraft carrier. Yeah, he's got his fighters up in the air, and he is engaging the enemy aircraft. But where was our aircraft carrier when all the nonsense over the enemy base was taking place? What was happening there? And it didn't look so good. And you can see as well that the enemies on the minimap are chasing my allies over to the western side of the map. It's like, you know, what is going on here? When an enemy ship just entered into our base and started capping it as well. Now that my ship is almost sunk, I do love watching the ship sink now as well. It's so great. Well, you know, jump over here to the ruin. What is this guy doing? Where was this guy the whole time? Maybe, you know, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was on the east side and spawned over there and it just, you know, retreated all the way over here. That's very possible. We'll see. The player has 1 kill, so yeah, maybe. You can see as well that our allied Lexington just, I don't know. I mean, granted, it's near the end here, so the rune is gone, so that sucks, but now it's just the Lexington remaining. But still, I mean, what is this player doing? Like, steaming right into the enemy ships. At the very least, I know there's a Shimikaze in the north. Well, no, maybe the Shimikaze might be dead now, because there is only 1 enemy destroyer, but at the very least, last time I was alive, up at the enemy base, there was a destroyer up there. But the Lexington could have at least sailed north, right? Stayed right on the edge of the map, sailing north, maybe north-northwest, but no, not today, I suppose. And I guess, again, yeah, you're the last ship, but still, still. So, you know, things didn't necessarily go so great in this battle, obviously. I mean, once the Lexington dies, you know, battle will be over. We'll take a look at the results. But it was a fairly... I'm not going to put it all on the destroyers, but the destroyers, you know, were just played such a crucial role in this battle that, you know, when we lost our destroyers, that really tied one arm behind our back, and there was not a whole lot we could do. We just suddenly didn't have the ability to, you know, engage multiple ships at once, or, you know, on a wide front like the enemies did. So battle is over. You know, obviously I get a few things here, top of the team overall as well, but you know, I guess the big takeaways for this is you always just keep looking at your minimap, and keep in mind, when you see things on your minimap, what it means, right? Like if you notice that, like we saw in this battle, if your whole team is pushing up one side and then you spot the enemy team and their whole team basically is pushing down the other side, well, now it's a race for the caps, and you gotta decide, are we going to send some ships back to defend, or are we just going to continue to cap and see what happens? In our case, we did continue to cap. I made the mistake of being the only ship to turn around and then turn around again, so there's my own fault to play in there as well. But anyway, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video today. As always, leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.